Looks like Stephen A is having a Negro wake-up call. Hello, good people. It is Todd Shannon, data scientist, social commentator, getter of the buckets, and Stephen A might be having that, as Charlemagne the Fraud put it, the N-word wake-up call. You remember that little segment? You remember that little stunt Charlemagne the Fraud tried to pull? I have to call him Charlemagne the Fraud as per usual because I believe any human being comparing themselves to God is fraudulent, and that as to speak nothing of the ridiculous political takes of Charlemagne the Fraud. But I digress. Remember that little stunt he tried to pull on Larry Elder? He called it the N-word wake-up call, right? He was like, Larry Elder. Is that how he talk? Larry Elder, you ever had an N-word wake-up call? You ever had a shocking realization that when a white person is you still realize that you are an N-word or whatever. I have to say N-word because I don't use that word, generally speaking. Certainly not publicly, but generally speaking, I don't use that word. But anyway, remember Charlemagne the Fraud did that with Larry Elder. Well, it looks like Stephen A is having a similar situation, but in the opposite way, right? Because what I think Stephen A is starting to realize, and I think what many people should start realizing, is that the black community is effectively the Democrat Party's side chick. Let me explain. See, the Democrat Party, way back in the day, I think you can go back as far as the New Deal, right? Which is, if memory serves me correctly, somewhere maybe in the 1920s, 1930s. Anyway, I'm not a history buff, but basically the long and short of it is, black people held their nose and voted for the Democrat Party because back then, the Republican Party was clearly the party of civil rights, of rights for black people, and equality. And the Democrat Party came along and said, we're going to give you all this stuff if you vote for us, right? So in essence, to be quite frank, the black community ended up selling themselves to the Democrat Party in exchange for benefits, right? And I'll try to find it. Maybe I should look for it really quick. But it's rumored that some president said that he would have those N-words, voting Democrat for the next 100 years. If anyone knows that quote and who said it, I want to say it's Lyndon B. Johnson. I don't know. Listen, it's all fuzzy in my head. If anybody knows that quote by a president that said they would have basically black people, but he used the N-word with the hard ER. Saying that basically he would have black people voting Democrat for the next 100 years. If you know who that president was, you know that quote is, put it in the comments. But that was effectively when the black community decided to marry the Democrat Party, and the black community has been in the pocket of the Democrat Party ever since. And so that was the deal, right? But then fast forward where the Democrat Party has got an iron grip on the black community, and all they have to do, they don't even have to provide any real benefits. They just have to say, well, the Republicans are racist, and that's basically all they need to keep black people in check. And it's been working, except that maybe now it's not working so much. And Stephen A. Smith is starting to come to this realization. Stephen A. Smith is realizing that black people maybe need to switch it up, and he is, dropping hints. He said this back in 2009, by the way. Not 2009. 2000. Anyway, I did a video on Stephen A. Some time ago, a few weeks ago, where I mentioned that Stephen A. used to be on these network channels saying relatively based things. Now he's become more lefty since he's trying to be the face of ESPN, which is a cesspool of wokeness. But now he's kind of coming back to the base side because he's being punched in the face by reality, as it were. So Stephen A. Smith, I want to let you hear his comments, and we'll talk about them. And then I'll explain to you more why the black community is now the Democrats' side chick, and they're looking to basically marry the illegal immigrants. So let's have a quick look here. Let me make sure I got the correct video queued up here. All right, let's roll.
It ain't that simple. We have to understand that we don't want people eating out of garbage cans. We don't want people starving. We don't want people separated from their children and children separated from their parents. We don't want this.
First, I'd like to just point out that this is a tired and silly talking point of the left. It's like, oh, we don't want to be inhumane. Listen, when you come to the country illegally, the United States owes you nothing. When you come to this country legally, the United States owes you nothing. I'm not understanding why the United States not only is obligated to let a bunch of people into our country for any reason whatsoever, but also to foot the bill. I don't understand this. Let's continue.
We don't want to be cruel and inhumane. But illegal immigration has become incredibly pervasive since the Biden administration has taken office. We all know that he's capitulated to the extreme left. And even though we wouldn't say specifically and definitively that the borders are open, every time you turn around, particularly in states like Texas and Arizona, and to a lesser degree, California, it is an extreme problem.
Now, what's also pretty ironic about these comments, Stephen A. seems to be a bit schizophrenic. And there again, I think at his core, Stephen A. is kind of based. At his core, I've seen it. But you can't be based and be, once again, like I mentioned, the face of a cesspool woke organization like ESPN, which is a Disney company. So he has these bouts, these fits of common sense, but then he reverts back to his leftism. And back a few weeks ago, he was calling the Texas immigration efforts to kind of assuage or to slow down a lot of the illegal border crossings. He was calling it basically racist. And now he's talking about how it's a big problem. Well, which one is it, Stephen A? Let's continue.
Well, guess where else it's a problem? It's a problem in New York City, my home.
And it's always ironic that the people with the luxury of beliefs, they always don't think it's a problem until it's a problem personally for them. This is, if you notice, this is particularly the case for your uppity, I use the word uppity, but you're kind of your rich white liberal. These people live in a different world than the places that they are supposedly advocating for. And then when the stuff starts to affect them, now they start to sing a new tune. Let's continue.
And I got to tell you something right now. If it wasn't for my daughter being there, I'd be gone. Don't like what I'm seeing. But it's not just because of migrants or illegal immigration. It's because it's mayhem.
So you see Stephen A's comments there. Obviously, it's mayhem. Obviously, it's a problem. And he's starting to realize, I think there are a lot of people who are coming to their senses about this administration. But, there's been a lot of stuff going on, a lot of people kind of changing their tune a little bit around the Biden administration. As a matter of fact, Michael Rappaport, a notoriously Trump deranged person, recently making some comments on how he was disillusioned by the Biden administration. And the thing that's difficult for me to understand is why all of a sudden is this some sort of revelation? Because this is stuff we've been saying, like right from day one, the Biden administration put their thumb on the scale and said, we're going to open the floodgates. And the question is, why would they be doing that? This is what I want black people to answer for themselves. Why would they do that? Why would they intentionally leave a gaping hole in the border? Why? You think it's because they think that they will suffer some sort of penalty? You think they're doing that to the detriment of their political aspirations? Or do you think somehow they think that they will benefit from that? The Democrats have been for years talking about how politics is basically demographics. And in Texas in particular, Think about what Texas is from an electoral standpoint. Texas is the second largest state in the country, the second largest number of electoral votes behind California. If they turn Texas blue, they have a permanent majority in perpetuity. And that was redundant. Permanent and perpetuity is the same thing, right? They want to turn Texas purple, and then they want to turn it blue. And that's why they keep letting the border have a gaping hole in it, because they think that if they let a bunch of illegals flood the borders, and maybe not this election cycle, maybe not the next one, but eventually they will have so many illegal immigrants who basically owe their status in the United States to a Biden administration who looked the other way and feigned, under the pretense of humanitarian, decency and compassion. It was all a political agenda in the first place. But we see what happens when you just import a bunch of people into your culture and into your land that don't hold your values, that haven't been vetted, that we're not thinking about what they actually add to our cultural milieu, but rather how we can get short-term electoral wins. This is a bad strategy. But Stephen A. had more to say. Let's go back to Stephen A. Because he makes an interesting observation.
So you can pick and choose. What it came down to for me is this. I see homeless folks in the streets of New York all the time that are American citizens. I damn sure see them in California. We've got poor, impoverished, starving people who were born and raised in this nation. How in the hell do we come up with a $53 million pilot program for illegals, but folks who are here legally are born here, we don't have enough for them? Just like we could come up with billions for Ukraine. But somehow, some way, we can't fix the homeless problem. I'm down for helping Israel. I'm down for helping address the situations with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, okay? I'm down for helping the Ukrainians and fighting off Russia. What about poor and desolate citizens here? How the hell do you print money for foreign countries? But you don't print that money to help eradicate folks that are starving right here in the streets of America.
It's a fair question, Stephen A. It's a fair question. Stephen A. sounding like Vivek Ramaswamy out in these streets. He's sounding kind of America first. He out here sounding like Tucker Carlson in these political streets with my air horns. Oh, sorry. I got the applause here. Air horns to follow. He literally out here talking like Tucker. The question is, why are we providing all of these? We're not just looking the other way like a derelict hall monitor saying, "Hey man, I know you don't have a pass, but I ain't gonna say nothing." We're like we're like holding the door open and then saying, "Hey man, you need some lunch money?" That's what we're doing. Somebody explain to me why this isn't just flat out bribery. Why this isn't just buying votes. And this is why I say Stephen A. is he's almost close. He's close to understanding it. He's making the right complaints, but he hasn't really put two and two together, which is that the Democrat Party is basically a fraudulent organization, which is not above literally bribing people into voting for them. That's what the whole debt cancellation, student loan cancellation ploy was about. That whole stunt, which was never going to go anywhere. The Supreme Court was never going to allow it. They knew for a fact that wasn't going to happen, but they tried. Maybe they thought there was some Hail Mary chance that they could get it through, but for the most part, it got knocked down as it should have. Why do you want to provide all these benefits to people who don't deserve them? If a person took out a student loan, it's their responsibility to pay it back. And I say that as a person who's paying back student loans right now. But that's not I because I am a person of principle, even though I would benefit from that, I would never vote for someone who promised that because it's not right. It's not someone's obligation to pay my bills. That's my job. So the Democrat Party is out here bribing people. They're out here buying votes. That's literally what they're doing. And as a side note, I can't imagine why anyone would think that if the Democrat Party if they're trying to buy the loyalty of people, promising them benefits that they are not actually entitled to, then why would they be opposed to, putting their thumb on the scale in other specific ways, like, voting processes and voting counts and other, ways in which we have discussed that were of particular interest in the 2020 election. But we're not going to go there just yet, because I got some stuff for that in another video. But Stephen A. continues because, he's doing Stephen A. things. Let's just go back to Stephen A. one more time, see if he can round us out, because he's running, 50 Cent is like talking about maybe Trump is the answer. And now he's going to talk about why black people might want to consider voting for Trump.
Trump got 12% of the black vote in 2016. Mm-hmm. He got 16% of the black vote in 2020. Mm-hmm. They're projecting he's going to get more than 20% of the black vote in this upcoming election.
Mm. I just want to pause here for a moment. And I just want you to consider the implications of that sort of progression. Now, I think those numbers sound right to me. I don't know for a fact that they are 100% correct, but this is what I do know. I know for a fact that the Trump progress with black and Latino voters has 100% been on the increase for certain. He has more black and Latino support than any GOP candidate in modern history. That's a fact. Now, I want you to think about the fact that for the last 8 years, we've had a mainstream media machine dedicated to nothing. If nothing else, they have been dedicated to this one message: Donald Trump is a racist. This is a beautiful thing because these people, the Democrat media machine, they realize now that their garbage lies are starting to fall on deaf ears. And I have to say, I am really disappointed for my folks in the black church, because I really feel like, and I'm just going to bring you in close here for a moment because this is important. I really feel like black church is the last group to come along on this. Because I still don't see black people in the black church starting to basically come out of their coma, out of their that spell start to break off of them, where they start to say, maybe we were lied to. Michael Rappaport, Stephen A. Smith, Bill Maher. Well, maybe not Bill Maher. He's still very, very Trump deranged. A lot of secular black people. These people are not Christians, but they're starting to say, they sold us a bill of goods when it comes to Donald Trump. That guy ain't no racist. That's our guy. I still don't see prominent people in the black church. I still don't see them saying that. And it's very disappointing because what that speaks to the strength of the echo chamber that exists there. And so I'm pretty sad by that. Let's just give Stephen A. his last little comments here.
That's what they're saying. And who's to say black folks would be wrong to vote for him? I told y'all before, I am no Republican. I voted for one Republican in my life. That's Governor Christie in New Jersey, because I thought that Corzine was a disaster.
There again, he's got to flash his left-wing bona fides, right? Because, you can't be on the right and be the face of ESPN. It's almost like apologizing for it.
I voted for Clinton. I voted for Al Gore.
Like, those should be guys. I'm really a leftist, but
I voted for Barack Obama twice. I voted for Biden, despite the crime bill that incarcerated a whole bunch of people in the 90s.
Oh, Lord. I'm going to have to do a special video on the crime bill. The crime bill, Joe Biden's crime bill, that's the only good thing he's ever done. But I digress.
That looked like me. I shoved all of that aside. All of it. Because I knew how divisive Trump would be. But as we sit here now, and we watch something like this transpire, where there seems to be more rapt attention being paid to folks who are not even here illegally, nor are from this country, yet we want to turn around and ignore us. Black folks, Latinos, and beyond, who are impoverished and are in need. We know why you're doing it. Because you want that voting block.
Stephen A. said it. We know why you're doing it. You want that voting block. And you're realizing that the black community is now the side chick. They're the side chick. They are courting and seeking to propose to and marry the illegal immigrant. Why would they provide you, quote unquote, black people further benefits when they've already got you on lock? And I want to just end this video by saying herein lies the problem with the whole idea that we need to vote for a particular people group's interest, or we need to say, what is this administration going to do for X people? What are you going to do for women? What are you going to do for black people? What are you going to do for Latinos? This idea that the thing that is good for black people might not be good for all people or vice versa is stupid. You know what the best thing is for black people? The same thing that's good for all people. Best thing that's good for women, same thing that's good for men. Best thing that's good for adults, same thing that's good for children. The same principles that will cause all the people groups to flourish will cause black people to flourish. Black people are not different. We're not a different breed or species of human being. What causes people to flourish is a commitment to God, the recognition of their creator, a commitment to worship, and to be morally upstanding. As John Adams said back in the day, our government was designed for immoral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. That was true then. It is true now. And all the government needs to do is promote the principles that made America what it is in the past and continue to uphold them, not to segment the country into a bunch of micro populations with divided and competing interests. But I'd like to know what you think, friends. Of course, Stephen A. Smith has had that N-word wake-up moment, I think, but he's so close, but he's not quite over the line yet. But we'll get him there. Hopefully he'll get punched in the face once again by reality as he continues to see the light. But let me know in the comments, friends, what your thoughts are. I'll be happy to hear what your thoughts are. Until next time, friends, God bless you.